Hurry up, 5 minutes. 5 minutos. Esta noche es muy caliente.
Hey, download your TikTok app today so you can have Chinese spyware in your house for free. You go down! Give me money!
Fucking future!
We're talking about a fat ass and everything, yeah.
I said loud ass. It's like I took a poop and it was one of those painful ones that brings a tear to your eye. You look so miserable, pupper. He's a miserable pupper. Oh, okay, so what are we gonna do? We're gonna do the thing. Stay. I gotta grab me something to drink. Something bourbony, we hope. You know, baby. Who told you? And we're live, coming to you from my den, or what? This is the living room. I think. I don't know the names of these rooms. Bitch, what the hell? You better stop playing. Really, Kirby? Apparently I can't click on my own damn channel. There we go. There we go. It's a thing. It's a thing. We're alive. I still have my bourbon from last week. You know, I should be ashamed of myself. Like, you haven't had a drop of alcohol in a week? But yet I have friends who think I've got a drinking problem. Go fuck yourselves. Seriously, I know perception is reality, but god dang, people. God dang. Ooh, this is going to be an interesting drink. Oh! Need to grab me a thing of water. We need some water. He needs some milk. No, we don't need no daggum milk. Ah, bonjour. Oh, I'm out of counter space. 'Cause I'm living like a slob now. Give me one moment. Da 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 da. Stay. So the other day, I got myself some tobacco, got me some dip, and they didn't have the kind I usually get. And you know, when you're going to poison yourself, make sure you're enjoying it, right? Anyways, long story short, the guy couldn't scan the whole log, so he said, "Is it okay if I open it?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, that's no problem." And he opens it and scans it, and $5 million later, everything's paid for. Well, when I pulled it out of the bag, I realized he pulled it down just enough to scan it. I thought he, somehow did some voodoo magic and put it back in there, but he did not. Oh yes, today's stream is brought to you in part by Skull. Long cut, full flavor, longer lasting. No, it's not sponsored. I'm just wishful thinking. I'm just hoping all of you with Amazon Prime accounts link your account so, to your Twitch, and that way I can get paid and it's free for you. It's good times, man. Good times. Listen here. I don't smoke in my house, and I'm gearing towards quitting. That's Luffy's Gear 6. Even though he, in the show and the manga, has only reached Gear 5. Listen, I don't want to talk about it. Is that loud? That's kind of loud. Am I competing with my waltzes? I like to pretend that I'm well-traveled and cultured. I mean, as far as traveling around the world, I am very, very high mileage. But as far as culture is concerned, I'm dumb. I know things, but I think I'm dumb. If I met me on the street, I'm like, that guy's dumb. Look at him. Who gets tattoos and piercings and like you dumb. Then you just have to talk to me for 5 minutes. You're like, yep. Suspicion confirmed. Alright, the music's a little bit loud. I'll turn it down. Of course, the music wants to quiet down a little bit. When I have to turn it down, it's just like, I'm not sure. Okay. That's 2 scotches right there. As I was saying, we were doing the thing. Yeah, I haven't had a sip of alcohol since last week Tuesday. Well, I mean, like attracts like, hurt, damage attracts damage, hurt attracts hurt. That's just how it goes. Some people have some things that they're into. I'm into sleep and complaining about things excessively until I actually formulate a solution. Unfortunately, for most of my bigger problems, my main solution is just murder. And that's why tonight we're continuing to read The 10 Worst Serial Killers, Monsters Whose Crimes Shocked the World. But Victor McQueen, the penis, yeah, baby. Now the question is, do I top off this whiskey? Because this has been sitting inside my freezer for a week, so it's going to taste funky. What did I drink last week? It was the Whistle Pig. Whistle Pig's right here. We'll top it off a little bit because it's kind of low. Like I said, I didn't drink as much as I normally did, and since the stream was only an hour long, well, you get what we got here last week, which is the way he want, and I don't like it any more than you, man. What were we talking about? Doesn't matter. So I decided instead of going with the zero fade that I was just gonna have them give me an undercut and take some of the long hair out. Yeah, I think it looks better, but I do care what other people think. Will I change anything about it? Probably not. Not the point. The point is we got a sleeping dog over here, which unofficially, she's my dog, but officially, still not yet. It don't matter. Your mama abandoned you just like my mama, so I gotta take care of you till the day one of us dies. Fuck. I wasn't ready or looking for more responsibility. It's not like I had a lot of responsibility. I just gotta make sure I don't let this house crumble to the ground. I gotta take care of my carpenter bee situation outside. Fuck did everybody go? Y'all just fucking dipped? Alright, cool. Me too. Right, see my baby? You my baby? You my baby? This a pretty baby. Yes, a little wag. A little wag, yes. Oh, plop. Hold on, don't move. Stay. It's okay. There you go. I adjusted your bed a little bit. Oh, now you're sad. It's like she's pouting. What a sweet hat. What the ass is going on with the view count? It doesn't matter. Don't pay attention to it. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Books and Bourbon, brought to you by Psycho Veteran. Yours truly, the one and only. Hung like a big lighter. What the fuck does that even mean? I don't know. I just, just gonna elaborate the title. We're just gonna keep on stretching and stretching. It's gonna be like that memory game where you say the last thing that somebody else said and you just tack it on to the end of the sentence, and we're just gonna. By the end of the year, it's going to be so fucking long. Just kidding. I'm not giving myself personal challenges. I can't even make my own fucking bed. It's multiple fold reasons, but they all sound like excuses to me. And how's that? Excuses are like assholes. Everybody's got one. Oh, wait, that's opinions. And they all stink. Fair enough. I'm going to call myself out. Put me on blast. Okay. We've got this 10-year-old whistle pig that's... I mixed the week-old whistle pig that's been sitting in the freezer with a little fresh pour. That's a spicy whistle pig. Oh, that must have been loud. I apologize. Okay, anyways, where were we? We were reading the book. We were about to read the book. I'm just over here scratching my head, wondering where the hell everybody went. We started with 4 and people immediately dropped off, and this was the beginning. We hadn't even done anything yet, and I'm introducing what this is about, what we're reading, petting the dog. Oh yeah, I was about to share this thing with random friends. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Not doing it. People want to tune in, they tune in. If they don't want to tune in, well, that's their problem, isn't it? You're going to miss out on this glorious baritone of mine. This beautiful dog over here. I just... stuff and things. Fuck, why is my left lat still locked up? It's been almost a week and a half now. It's just stupid. Don't get old, kids. Die while you're young and pretty when people still believe you are achieving your dreams and your hopes and goals. They had so much potential. Just kidding. Don't do anything harsh. Definitely do stuff I wouldn't do. Be brave. Do the thing. I have faith in you. I have faith in you. I have faith in the dog to be able to sleep, and I have faith in you to be able to achieve your dreams. Whether that includes me in them or not, don't matter. I really do wish most people everything but the best. Like, even the people that have done me wrong. Like, I don't want them to suffer. Hell, I hope they thrive. Maybe they'll remember how much I helped them out at some point, At least say thank you. For inspiration, whether I was the low point of their life or what. I don't care. Let me know. Let me feel shittier about myself. Please tell me. Oh. No? Okay. Well. Yeah, adulting is difficult. I couldn't imagine having 3 yelling at you and dealing with the death and the landlord and old MacDonald at a farm. Chapter 4. Tsutomu Miyazaki, the Otaku Murderer. Well, this one's curious. Many countries around the world look enviously towards Japan and ask the same question. How have they managed to create such an apparently harmonious and crime-free society? The crime rate in Japan is, by all modern standards, staggeringly low, and the rate of violent crime lower still. Fewer than 1 person is murdered for every 100,000 in the population, compared to 4.8 for the United States and 44.7 in Belize. Only Iceland, with a population of 325,000, has a lower homicide rate than Japan, where 127 million live. Not only that, but the rate in Japan is actually falling, whilst in most other countries the already high homicide rates continue to climb. As a rule, then, Japan does not suffer from the curse of the serial killer. The exception to that rule was Tsutomu Miyazaki. Okay. There are devils about. She was wearing a pink and white t-shirt with cats on it. Pink pumps. She had a page boy haircut and was 105 centimeters, 3 foot 4 inches tall. On 23 August 1988, in Saitama, just north of the capital of Tokyo, everyone was looking for 4-year-old Mariko Tomo. Oh, Kono, sorry. Her father had reported her missing the day before, after she failed to return from a trip to play at a friend's house. From the outset, the Japanese police treated her disappearance as a murder case. Girls of that age simply do not disappear in Japan. Police squad cars prowled the streets, their loudspeakers warning parents to keep their children indoors. Every home in the area was visited by officers, and 50,000 posters of Marie were distributed. 2 boys and a 38-year-old housewife had independently seen the missing girl with the man dressed in a white sweater and white slacks. He had a round, pudgy face and curly hair. That was all the police had to go on. Despite an extensive search with dogs, no trace of Marie could be found. Yukie Kono, Marie's mother, went on television to appeal for help and expressed hope that her daughter might still be alive. A couple days later, she received an anonymous postcard bearing the message, "There are devils all about." Although the police dismissed it as the work of a crank, the card was sent by the killer, Tsutomu Miyazaki. Okay. The Outsider. Tsutomu was born prematurely in Itsukaichi, Tokyo on 21 August 1962. He weighed just 2.2 kilograms, 4 pounds 8 ounces. And the joints in his hands were fused together, meaning he could not bend his wrists upwards. He was teased about his deformity from an early age and rapidly became acutely self-conscious. At school, he was remembered by classmates and teachers alike as a loner and found it impossible to make friends. Later at college, he took his video and still camera to the tennis courts to take upskirt photographs of the female players. One of his own sisters caught him spying on her in the bath. Jesus, man! We're off to a good start with this guy, huh? Yeah? Though bright, Tsutomu lost interest in his studies as he grew older, and was forced to abandon his plan to enter Meiji University due to poor grades. Instead, he found work at a printing company that belonged to a friend of his father, and read comic books voraciously when not at work. His father, Katsumi Miyazaki, owned the Akikawa Shimbun, a local Itsukaichi newspaper, and was well regarded in the locality. Like many Japanese men, he was something of a workaholic and often absent from the family home that Tsutomu continued to share with his parents. The only person with whom Tsutomu bonded was his grandfather, Shokichi, and it was the old man's death in May 1988 that appears to have triggered Tsutomu's descent into madness and murder. In later letters, Tsutomu Miyazaki claimed to have eaten some of his grandfather's cremated remains in order to try and reincarnate him. By now 25 years old and with no ability to form adult relationships, Tsutomu turned to child pornography and lolicon anime, a genre of Japanese comic depicting sexualized prepubescent girls for his thrills. He began to amass a vast collection of videos and comic books, many either sexual or violent in nature. When the police searched his room after his eventual arrest, they found 5,763 such videos, as well as hundreds of comic books. I'm sure it was thousands, but that's fine. On 21 August 1988, Tsutomu Miyazaki celebrated his 26th birthday. The next day, he drove away from the family home in his Nissan Langley sedan and stopped shortly afterwards to offer a ride to 4-year-old Marikono. Chapter 4, The Murders. Once the girl was inside his car, Miyazaki drove for more than an hour and a half to a quiet woodland area, 50 kilometers, 31 miles from Saitama. He claimed the two of them chatted happily during the journey, but only he knows whether that is true. What is beyond dispute is that the pair walked through the woods, away from the hiking paths that crisscrossed the area to a remote part of the forest, where they could not be seen or heard. There, Miyazaki strangled the girl to death before undressing and sexually assaulting her. Before and after the crime, he took photographs in order to document his atrocity. He left her body in the woods, bundled up her clothes, and returned to his car. Nobody had seen him enter the woods, and nobody saw him leave. nor did anyone see him re-enter the woods 6 weeks later with 7-year-old Masami Yoshizawa. Fucking monsters! They weren't kidding. Masami was lured into Miyazaki's car from a quiet street in Hanno, close to where he lived. She met the same terrible fate as Mari, who still lay less than 100 meters, just over 100 yards away, strangled, stripped, and sexually assaulted. Again, Miyazaki obsessively photographed his own crime scene. As he took pictures of Masami's body, a muscle spasm caused her corpse to twitch, and he fled the scene in terror. The police repeated the same diligent process they had undertaken after Marie's disappearance, conducting house-to-house enquiries and papering the city with posters of the missing Masami. They suspected a connection between the disappearances of the two children, but had no leads to follow, no suspects to pursue. One of the disadvantages of an incredibly low crime rate is that no officers gain experience in hunting down serial killers. But even seasoned specialists would have struggled with so little to go on, as in this case. At this point, neither body had been found, and both cases were officially missing persons inquiries. 2 months later, that would change. What changed about it? We're not sure. We're gonna get there, though, right? Right? You guys still with me? I mean, if you're not, I don't blame you. This shit's fucking gross. But I'm still reading, because, you know. Oh, come on. It would be so nice if I could just breathe. Could I have both nostrils, please? Like, when I'm awake. Up out of bed. Who needs to breathe when they're sleeping? Not me. My body's trying to kill me. So me, being the petty asshole I am, I return the favor by doing the thing myself. I'll kill you back, motherfucker. Ugh. Hey, you should see if Paige is streaming right now. She does that. She's just like, hey, I want to stream when Psycho's streaming. It's okay. Still love you guys. Oh. Don't check to see if she's streaming, because then you'll be gone from my stream and I'll have a sad. Don't make me have a sad. Erika Namba was returning from a friend's house in Kawagoe, Saitama, when Miyazaki pulled over and offered her a lift. The 4-year-old was reported missing by her anxious parents later the same day, 12 December. Both they and the police must have feared the worst, given the previous disappearances in the area. The next day, a worker at a local youth nature facility found clothing belonging to a child in the woods behind a parking area. The police raced the 50 or so kilometers to the scene and conducted a thorough search of the entire area. Erika's body was discovered the next day in a different part of the woods. She had been bound by the hands and feet with nylon cord, strangled, and sexually assaulted. Fucking dude. Once these details were made public, 2 men came forward to state they had been in the area at around the time that Erika went missing. They remembered helping a man whose Toyota Corolla car had got stuck just off the road, very close to where the corpse was found. The car was parked with its hazard lights flashing, so they stopped to take a look. A man came out of the woods carrying a crumpled sheet. As he placed the sheet in the boot of his car, he explained he had actually driven off the road and become stuck in guttering. The men were too polite to ask what he had been doing in the woods with the sheet. They had simply helped him lift the car out, and he drove away. What struck them as most odd about the incident at the time was the fact that the man did not offer them a word of thanks. When pressed, they recalled that the car had plates identifying it as originating from Hachioji, Tokyo. Oh, well, here's Mr. Miyazaki right here. I mean, he just looks like a pretty unassuming dude. But, you know, you're here, I'm here. We're all here. There's good times to be had. I'm telling you. Toyota Corollas are one of the most popular cars in Japan. The police checked some 6,000 that might have been the one the men spotted, but they drew a blank. It turned out that the witnesses were mistaken. It was not a Toyota Corolla they had lifted out of the gutter on that fateful December night, but a Nissan Langley. You know, Toyota, Nissan, so close. The ungrateful man that they helped was Tsutomu Miyazaki. He had an amazingly lucky escape. Police had come agonizingly close to catching a mass murderer. Instead, Miyazaki continued to live his lonely life of comic books and murder, while families across Japan kept their children indoors and drove them to and from the school gates each day. I mean, look, I have a problem with helicopter parents, but letting your fucking 4-year-old just wander the streets, like, gotta wait till they're at least 5 or 6, and 4? Whew. It's rough. I'm sure the parents are still upset with themselves today. Trying not to be judgmental here. You never know when monsters are going to show, and unlucky for them, penis. This fucking weird penis monster shows up. The killer makes contact. The families of the murdered children soon began to receive mysterious silent phone calls. When they answered, they could hear someone on the line, but nobody spoke. If they ignored the phone, it would ring insistently for as long as 20 minutes. And then, even more chillingly, mysterious postcards began to arrive. Erika Namba's father, Shinichi, received one a week after her death that said, Erika, cold, cough, throat, rest, death. It was a sick, taunting, and sadistic move on the part of Miyazaki, but the parents of still missing Mari Kono were to receive an even more macabre communication from the killer. Mari's father, Shigeo, found a cardboard box on his doorstep as he left for work around 6 a.m. on 6 February 1989. Tsutomu Miyazaki had returned several times to the spot where the bodies of Mari and Masami lay decomposing in the dark woods, 50 kilometers from their anguished loved ones in Saitama. On one visit, he cut off Mari's hands and feet and kept them as souvenirs. The rest of her body he burnt. The ashes that remained he placed in a box, along with 10 of her baby teeth and photographs of her clothing. On top of these, he placed a single sheet of copier paper bearing the words, Marie Bones. Oh my gosh, the last puppy's gone? Well, that's good to know. I knew somebody that might want a puppy. All the puppies are gone. Congratulations. We should celebrate. Celebrate good times. Come on. This was the box that Marie's father found on his doorstep. He immediately turned it over to the police. The last girl puppy. Okay. Woo! Yeah, 14 months. My God, has it been that long? I got the bestest neighbors ever. So you still have Galahad. Oh wait, you get... Was it Galahad and Randolph? Okay. Well, I might have somebody for it, but it's up to them to contact you. Stop renaming these poor pups. It don't matter. They'll respond to whatever as long as you got food, right? Ooh. Dr. Kazuo Suzuki of the Tokyo Dental University examined the teeth and, at a police press conference, announced they did not belong to Marie Kono. Marie's mother at the same press conference spoke of her faint hopes that her daughter was still alive. In his room alone, as usual, Miyazaki watched in disbelief. He wrote a 3-page letter to the Kono family and the local press entitled Crime Confession. He reiterated that he had killed all 3 girls and that the remains in the box belonged to Marie. He claimed he did not want her mother to continue to have false hope. The letter was signed Yuko Imada, a girl's name, but also a pun in the Japanese language, meaning, now I have courage and also now I will tell. Okay. Shortly afterwards, Dr. Suzuki reversed his opinion on the teeth, and forensic experts confirmed that they did indeed belong to Marie. Her case was officially changed to a homicide investigation and linked to the murder of Erika Namba. What the press and public had speculated on for so long was finally confirmed. A serial killer was at work in Saitama. Oh, I feel like I've been drinking whiskey. It's been a week. Actually, I haven't had anything to drink. I mean, water, obviously, and everything else that's really bad for me. Oh, what have we got here? Got a message? Ah, yes. Clues. Although handwriting experts were unable to provide police with much useful information after analyzing the letters, the communications nonetheless gave investigators some vital leads. They were able to establish that the photographs had been taken with a relatively rare Mamiya 6x7 format camera, the kind used by professional photographers or printers rather than hobbyists. The cardboard box was double-walled and corrugated. It was the kind used to ship fragile objects such as camera lenses. The typeface on the postcards came from a phototypesetter, and an industrial copier would have also been required to produce them. This set of clues ought to have been enough for the police to focus in on those working in professional print shops in the area. Had they done so, they would have soon come face to face with the quiet loner, Tsutomu Miyazaki. For reasons that remain unclear, this never happened. The police distributed copies of the crime confession letter to local houses in the hope of someone coming forward with new information. The Kono family buried their daughter and appealed to the killer to return her hands and feet so that she could walk and eat in heaven. What they got in response, however, was not more of their daughter's remains, but more of the killer's twisted letters. Miyazaki, again signing himself as Yuko Amada, wrote saying that he wanted to fold her arms across her chest, but rigor mortis had set in. He then documented how red spots had appeared on her body as she decomposed. How those red spots had reminded him of the Hinomaru, or Circle of the Sun, on the Japanese national flag. How the body had liquefied and begun to smell. Clearly the killer enjoyed reliving his experiences both in person and on paper, and the outrage and pain he would cause the parents of his victims seemed to extend the duration of his pleasure. In the end, however, he still desired fresh victims. By 1 June 1989, Miyazaki was skipping work to try to capture more children. He persuaded a small child playing near a school to take off her underwear, while he photographed her. Spotted by neighbors, he was chased off before he could do anything even worse. But he managed to escape from the scene before the police arrived. It was, for him, another lucky escape. For 5-year-old Ayako Nomoto, it meant she had 5 days left to live. Man, this guy's a fucking piece of work, isn't he? But these are the worst serial killers, and I thought I was ready. I don't think I was ready. I think we need to just drink more. Just gotta drink more. It's fine. Oh, waffles. Oh, the cannibal killer. Oh, he's a cannibal now, too. Fuck. The little girl was playing alone in a park in Ariake, near Tokyo Bay. Miyazaki approached her and asked if he could take her photograph. Within a few moments, she was in the back of his parked Nissan Langley. According to Miyazaki's later testimony, she fought hard as he strangled her, kicking her legs furiously, but the struggle was unequal. After 4 or 5 minutes, the kicking stopped, and she became limp. He bound her hands and feet, placed tape over her mouth, wrapped her in a sheet, and placed her in the boot of his car. Miyazaki had macabre plans for her, even after her death. He rented a video camera and returned home. There he stripped Ayako's body and recorded himself sexually abusing her. He hacked off her head, hands, and feet, and dumped her torso beside a public toilet in the Miyazawa-ko Cemetery in Hano. In his back garden, he then roasted the little girl's hands and ate some of the flesh from them. He hid the rest of her remains in a wooded hill beside his house, before thinking better of it and retrieving them to keep in the storeroom behind his bedroom. He later scattered them more widely into the woods and burnt the sheets he had used to wrap the body. Ayako's torso was quickly discovered, and she was identified by matching her stomach contents with her family's report of her last meal. Tsutomu Miyazaki's crimes were becoming more demonically elaborate and showed no sign of slowing down. He was, in every sense, remorseless. Just a few days later, on Sunday, 23 July 1989, he prowled the streets again, this time fixing upon 2 young sisters playing together in Hachioji, about 40 kilometers west of central Tokyo. The eldest of the children informed her father, who ran in wild panic through the streets of Hachioji to the spot where his daughter said a man had approached them. He found his younger daughter in the back of Tsutomu Miyazaki's car, naked and terrified as Miyazaki photographed her genitals. The father landed a blow to Miyazaki's head that knocked him to the ground, but he managed to stagger away from the scene as the father tended to his screaming daughter. The police were on the scene in minutes, but the assailant had escaped down a swampy riverbank. As officers swarmed over the car, and radios crackled with descriptions of the wanted man, Tsutomu Miyazaki brazenly returned to collect his vehicle. He was immediately arrested. One of the largest manhunts in modern Japanese history had ended with the suspect simply walking up to the police in the center of a major city. Well, I mean, there's got to be something wrong with you if you're doing shit like this, so we could scratch genius off the fucking list. Anyways, the police were so caught off guard that the press beat them into Miyazaki's room, filming inside it before it had been cordoned off for the forensic team to do their work. The coverage focused on the man's apparent obsession with comic books and videos, leading him to be dubbed the otaku murderer. The closest English translation of otaku would be nerd or geek, one who has unhealthy, obsessive interests, especially in the Japanese anime and manga comic books. The murders fueled a moral panic against the anime and manga culture or fandom in Japan, though there was never any proof of a direct link between Miyazaki's horrific crimes and the content he watched and read. When the police did gain access to the bedroom, however, they found videos of Marie Kono amidst a vast collection of tapes. In the days that followed, the suspect made a full confession and showed the police where the bodies of the missing girls lay. His parents went into hiding and his father refused to pay for a defense lawyer, insisting it would be unfair on the victims, so a state lawyer was appointed. The trial began on 30 March 1990. More than 1,500 people queued outside the Tokyo District Court building to see firsthand what the notorious otaku murderer really looked like. Just 50 or so were let in, and even these lucky few would be disappointed to see the young, round-faced defendant scribbling cartoons and falling asleep during the hearings. When the killer geek did speak, it was to demand the return of his car and his beloved collection of videos and books. Okay. In Japan until 2009, there are no jury trials. A panel of judges decided Miyazaki's fate. Loyalty to fellow colleagues is one of the defining characteristics of Japanese society, and judges and prosecutors are essentially colleagues working for the Ministry of Justice. From 1991 to 2000, more than 99% of defendants in Japan were convicted. Thus, a defendant's attorney would be faced with an uphill battle to obtain a not guilty verdict. Much of Miyazaki's trial was shaped, not by the determination of innocence or guilt, but by the debate over whether he was sane or insane. If he was deemed to be mad, he would escape the death penalty. Psychological assessments were ordered. Miyazaki claimed that a demonic creature named Ratman had taken possession of his mind, and a 3-court-appointed psychiatrist found him to be mentally unsound, though they disagreed over whether he was schizophrenic or suffering from multiple personality disorder. In the end, the judges came to the conclusion that he was not so mad that he could not hang, and he was sentenced to death. In response to being found guilty, Miyazaki penned a letter to his father, Katsumi Miyazaki, angrily blaming him for all of his crimes. Was he Ratman? You don't know. You don't know. Katsumi expressed his regret at not taking more notice of his son's early antisocial behavior and inability to make friends. Having made his public apology, he then killed himself by jumping into a river in 1994. His son remarked that he felt refreshed upon hearing the news. Maybe he was Ratman. I don't know. Although, suicide is not really frowned upon in Japan as much as it is in the Western world, but different culture. You know, no. We're not going to work in the fucking Gary Coleman joke. You know, Gary Coleman died of multiple aneurysms, so in a way, he died of different strokes. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. I don't know why the hell that came up. My bad. I apologize. We'll continue. Japan is one of the few industrialized countries that maintains the death penalty. along with the United States and South Korea, though the latter currently has a moratorium in effect. Human rights organizations have long criticized Japan for its lack of transparency over executions, which are carried out in secret and at short notice. Those on death row are not sent to prison, but to detention centers, where they await the finalization of the sentence. This process of finalization can take many years as legal representatives appeal for clemency. Miyazaki's initial death sentence was handed down 14 April 1997. He later remarked that he found it difficult to find a comfortable sitting position as the judge delivered the sentence. He went on to complain that hanging, the method of execution favored in Japan, was inhumane and suggested the country move to lethal injection method used in the United States. For the next 4 years, Miyazaki was perfectly content reading comic books all day in the detention center whilst the wheels of justice slowly turned. He wrote hundreds of letters to the editor of his favorite magazine, Tsukuru Create, which specializes in critiquing Japanese mass media and subcultures. Oh my god, that's like the original 4chan, right? Or is that more of a Reddit? I don't know. I've never been on either, so I wouldn't know. In one such letter, he commented on the fact that his death sentence was upheld by the Tokyo High Court in 2001. A court spectator shouted, "Drop dead now, bastard," but Miyazaki only learnt of this afterwards as he dozed off during the sentencing. What he also missed was Chief Justice Tokiyasu Fujita's opinion of him. The atrocious murder of 4 girls to satisfy his sexual desire leaves no room for leniency. The crime is cold-blooded and cruel. Despite this, Miyazaki remained convinced he would be acquitted and expressed no remorse for his crimes. "I don't intend to apologize," he wrote in one of his letters. Of his victims, he wrote, "There's nothing much to say about them. I'm happy to think I did a good deed." How? And okay. During this early period of his incarceration, he had reason to be confident about his death sentence not being carried out. The Justice Minister, Seiken Sugiura, said that the death penalty went against his devout Buddhist beliefs and no executions were carried out during his tenure. Even with previous, less peaceable justice ministers at the helm, the average elapsed time between the finalization of a death sentence and the execution itself had been around 8 years. All this changed, however, with the appointment of the ultra-conservative Kunio Hatoyama as Justice Minister in 2006. The Asahi newspaper nicknamed him the Grim Reaper. Sounds like he was from the Texas part of Japan. Anyways, is it time for another sip? No, we're gonna fucking breathe. It's gonna be okay. Look at that dog's armpit. She got nice armpits. They're not ticklish though. Where are you going? You ain't going nowhere. Oh, there you go. There's a sweet popper. Hatoyama signed death warrants at a pace unprecedented in modern Japan, causing waves of panic amongst those on death row. Miyazaki sought help from the famous anti-death penalty activist Yoshihiro Yasuda, and ironically, it was this that sealed his fate. The primary reason for a stay of execution was the argument that Miyazaki was insane, and his letter to Yasuda was seen as proof that he was of sound mind. Damn. Ain't that about some bitch? In Building A of the Tokyo Detention House in Tokyo's Kosuge district, the evening of 16 June 2008 was no different to any other for Miyazaki. In common with all Japanese death row convicts, he had no idea he would be hanged the next morning. The first indication of a condemned man has that something is out of the ordinary is the sound of the guard's footsteps outside his cell. Miyazaki was offered a cigarette, a Japanese confectionery, fruit, and tea. He refused the offer of a prison chaplain to speak to until just before the moment of his execution. Then he was led into the execution room, divided in half by the blue curtains. Facing him was a Buddha statue, a cross, and a rope 3 centimeters thick, which was placed around his neck. He was blindfolded with a white cloth, and then 3 prison officials in a separate room simultaneously pushed a button to release a trapdoor. Only one button functions, so none of them can know for certain that they were responsible for snapping Miyazaki's neck. Minutes later, a prison doctor in the room below climbed a stepladder and held a stethoscope to the serial killer's heart to confirm that he was dead. As Miyazaki's body was being toweled down and dressed in white, the former deputy inspector of the Saitama Prefecture Police was back in the lonely woods of Kawagoe, west of Saitama. The 67-year-old Sato Norimichi toured all the sites of the crimes that day, offering up prayers to the 4 young victims of Japan's infamous killer. News of Miyazaki's death leaked to the media as he drove between the crime scenes. The story of the otaku killer was finally over. That's pretty fucking sick shit right there. So this guy writes a letter.
Hello, motherfucker.
Oh, hi, Cheetah. This guy, see, you missed the otaku killer, Cheetah. It's probably the only Japanese one in this group of 10 people that I've read about. So that's number 3, who's had a full son of a gun about him. Anyways, yeah, this is a sick dude. Boobs and bourbon. No, it doesn't say boobs. It says booked and bourboned. Don't get me wrong, I like boobs. Boobs are nice. Boobs are my second most favorite subcutaneous fat, right after bacon. It's close. If I was offered boobs or bacon, I'd probably take the boobs, but if I could have both, then got yourself a date, kid. Oh. Big ones, little ones, floppy ones, perky ones. Flat ones, round ones. They got to see Doggo. Doggo's clearly the star of the show, and since she's unofficially my dog, you know, she gonna be part of everything I do, whether it's me driving to the home improvement store or hanging out in the backyard. I don't know how well she'd deal with the lawnmower, so you know she's not gonna be outside while I'm doing yard work, which is rare. So she'll be all right though. Only stop it. There will be no only pause. She is a lady, and it shall remain so. Although, unlike my golden, this one's been sullied. That's why I call her Miss Saggy Tits. But, you know, she's a sweet girl. She's super smart. Like, you should have seen it. As I was saying bye to you earlier, when we stopped playing, I was like, goodbye, Cheetah. And she immediately stood up when I said goodbye, Cheetah. The Xbox wasn't even turned off yet. She heard the goodbye. She's like, oh, that's time. That's my time. She knows. She's pretty damn smart, which is more than I can say for a lot of children I've met in the past. Right? She knows. Chapter 5. Robert William Picton, the Pig Farmer Killer. Ooh, see now what's his face? Guy Ritchie worked in the pig farmer side of the gangster life. Ooh, that whiskey's kicking in. It's nice. It only took about 48 minutes, but we're there. I feel good. Nice, warm and tingly. It's like I'm wearing a fleece blanket over my entire body. Guy Ritchie. Yeah, Madonna married him and suddenly she had an English accent. Like, you're a dumb slut from New Jersey or wherever the fuck she's from. But all of a sudden she's a British nanny who's all virginal and pure. Like, get the fuck out of here, broad. Anyways, in March 1997. Oh, this is relatively recent compared to some of this other shit. What are you doing? Lay down. Lay down, pretty girl. There you go. Thank you. Oh, look at her hamming it up for the camera. Sweet baby. In March 1997, bleeding heavily from multiple stab wounds, Wendy Lynn Eistetter staggered out of the Picton pig farm and out on the highway while still wearing a handcuff on one wrist. It was 1:45 a.m., so cars were few and far between, but she managed to flag down a motorist and collapse inside his car. The half-naked woman was rushed to the Eagle Ridge Hospital, where doctors managed to save her life. She told them that Robert Willie Picton was the man who tried to kill her, after handcuffing her, then stabbing her with a kitchen knife. She had wrestled the weapon off him, stabbed him with it, and run for her life. Police arrested Picton when he entered the same hospital to get his own wound treated. He was released on a $2,000 bond. Really? My dude. Okay. Hospital staff used a key found in his pocket to release the handcuff from Wendy's wrist. The police were already familiar with the Picton brothers. 5 years earlier, in 1992, Willie's brother David had been convicted of sexual assault and had committed numerous other minor offenses. The Pictons bought their vehicles at the Vancouver police auctions. Willie was the slow one with a well below normal IQ of 86. He was considered a little strange, known to wear women's clothes and a wig, have muffins and ice cream for breakfast, and eat all other foods straight from the can. But he came across as a harmless eccentric rather than a man prone to violence. When Willie explained that it was Wendy who attacked him rather than the other way around, it was his word against hers. And Wendy's word didn't count for much with the Vancouver police. She was a drug addict and a prostitute known on the streets as Stitch, and had a lengthy criminal record herself. The little bitch almost killed me, Picton said. The deep slash to his neck could indeed have been fatal. Okay. That's right. If you're gonna murder people because you can't help your obsession, get rid of people that nobody gives a shit about. The homeless, the prostitutes, the working man. Don't kill women and children. Uh-oh. Really, dog? You just want me to change that camera angle again, don't you? Fucking rude. Oh. Look at that beautiful baby. That's my baby. Ain't no one gonna touch my baby. No one! Okay, anyways. The Pictons certainly didn't seem unduly concerned by the gravity of the charges hanging over Willie. On New Year's Eve, they threw one of their famous parties at the Piggy Palace, an after-hours club they ran on Burns Road, close to their land. Perhaps they already knew the charges would be dropped. They subsequently in January 1998. Lead investigator Mike Connor said he felt it was a slam dunk, but prosecutor Randy Connor decided a junkie like Wendy would never convince a jury. Fair. But still, $2,000 bond seems kind of low. The police officer was sure that Picton was a violent offender, and he sat in his car after midnight outside Picton's farm on dozens of occasions, hoping he could catch him in the act. But after Connor was promoted in 1999, his surveillance of Picton stopped. All the police files relating to the incident later mysteriously vanished. Picton's clothing from that night sat in a Royal Canadian Mounted Police evidence locker until 2005, when it was eventually tested for DNA. It revealed traces of DNA from Cara Ellis and Andrea Borhaven, two of the several young women missing from the streets of Vancouver. I added young, but we can only assume. These guys seem to like to prey on the ladies. Downtown East Side. That's why I say, carry and train and carry. Always on body, never in a purse. And yes, they do have holsters that conform to the body. So I'm tired of the excuses. Ladies, you can't play the victim and then not try to take an active role in your own protection. I watch some of these videos on YouTube and these shorts on Facebook and so on and so forth, and see some of the self-defense maneuvers, like, oh, put your hand over the top and push down and all this shit. I'm like, you gonna get fucking murdered trying that shit. I mean, please do try, but situational awareness is worth a lot more than, your self-defense moves against a man who's determined to do whatever dastardly deeds he has planned. I don't want to hold self-defense courses. Well, actually, I was thinking about actually opening a gun range for first-time gun owners, teach them about the care and assembly and training of use of their firearm and so on and so forth. But that's me. I'm a man of many ideas. I don't follow through on any of that, mostly because I talk myself out of it because I'm a quitter. And quitters never win, and that's why I'm a fucking loser. And that's okay. Anyways, let's carry on with the book, shall we? Let's shall. Downtown East Side. One of the 5 women reported missing from Vancouver's East Side neighborhood in 1997 was Marnie Frey. Like many of those who had vanished, Marnie had been working the streets as a prostitute, and her absence was not immediately noticed. Though she hadn't been since 30 August, she wasn't reported as a missing person until 29 December. Holy fuck, that's a long time to get reported. Well, I hope you guys noticed me missing sooner than that, because, I don't know, I don't think the dog should develop a taste for human flesh, so if I miss a stream and I'm not on the next day, check on me, please. Her father, Rick, pounded the sidewalks of downtown East Side asking locals if they had any information. The prostitutes who worked there all told him the same harrowing tale. Women were never seen again. If they took rides out to the Picton pig farm, the Vancouver Rape Relief and Women's Shelter had heard the same rumors from their clients, but the police didn't seem to be acting on the information, and Marnie Frey remained missing persons case number 98-209922 for the rest of 1998. In July that year, Coquitlam police in British Columbia got a tip-off from Bill Hiscox, who worked for the Picton's P&B salvage company and occasionally visited their farm. He got chatting to a woman working as a cleaner there, and she told him she had found bloody clothing and women's identification in Picton's trailer. Bill contacted the police and Wayne Lang, who had left his phone number on posters in downtown East Side as part of his efforts to find his missing friend, Sarah DeVry. She was a sex worker, well known to the police, having recently turned up in a Port Moody police station, half naked and beaten black and blue. She recorded in her diary that they turned her back onto the streets without even offering her a blanket, so she hitchhiked home and was sexually assaulted en route. Her $1,000 a day heroin habit meant she couldn't be picky over punters, and she duly disappeared from her usual spot on the corners of Princess and Hastings. Just another Hastings Street whore / sentenced to death, she wrote in one of her numerous poems. Her white purse was later found in Picton's loft, along with a used condom. Despite Bill Hiscox's tip-off, the police failed to investigate Robert Willie Picton. Sarah was just one of 11 women who vanished without a trace that year. Fucking cops, do your job. Oh, I'm sorry. Mounties. I thought they always get their men. Well, I guess they eventually got them. But, oh shit. Somebody's been drinking my whiskey. Whiskey. It does not do a body good. Anyways. Vancouver's downtown East Side is Canada's poorest district, home to many of the city sex workers, vagrants and drug addicts. These are the people most vulnerable to a psychopathic predator. And Picton had the easiest possible way to lure them in. Everybody knew that you got to fix the free drugs out of the Piggy Palace if you're willing to do whatever the Pictons asked. Is that what it takes? I'm just kidding. I'm not thinking about making my own Piggy Palace. That requires money. I ain't got none. We're good. I would be very irresponsible with large amounts of money. Lord knows I'm very irresponsible with little amounts of money, so... Anyways. The Piggy Palace. Piggy was Dave Picton's nickname around Port Coquitlam, British Columbia. Willie would find fresh victims by prowling the so-called low track, the dozen or so alleyways and dark side streets of East Side, where around 1,500 prostitutes sell their bodies. It was not illegal to do so in Canada in the 1990s, nor was it illegal to pay for sex, but it was illegal to communicate for the purposes of prostitution or operate a brothel. What? So you couldn't have an actual safe home base, is what they were saying. You could be an independent contractor. 10-4. Independent contractor, that's where the money's at. I mean, it's more dangerous without a pimp, but at the same time, all your money you make is all yours. Make sure to report on your tax forms. Sorry. Areas such as the low track were the result of so-called orange light areas or red light areas where prostitution is tolerated. Willie had to work a little harder to find a girl who'd agreed to head out with them along the dark highway to a squalid pig farm, but there was always someone who was desperate enough to do so. They call it survival sex work. What you do when you have no other options. The farm was located about 18 miles or so east of Vancouver, behind a Save-On-Goods grocery store, a Costco, and a Denny's restaurant. A sign at the entrance read, "This property is protected by a pit bull with AIDS." What the fuck? It was known for wild parties at which the local Hells Angels motorcycle gangs mixed with the likes of former mayor of Port Coquitlam, Scott Young. There was a rule to check your knives and other weapons in at the door, but other than that, it was a place beyond the rule of law. The Pictons registered the Palace Good Time Society with the government as a non-profit organization and built a dance hall that attracted crowds of up to 1,800 people before it was shut down in 2000 for failure to file financial statements. Whoopsie! See, I told you, pay those taxes. You guys didn't want to listen. I've not read this before. These are all new words to me as I go through it. The brothel had sold off much of their inherited farmland to developers and no longer required an income. They had cash to burn, and that's what brought so many desperate visitors to the barns and trailers on their grim and forbidding farm. They kept 30 sheep, 12 pigs, and a few goats, llamas and cows on the 11 hectares, 27 acres, they still owned, but that was mostly because by law it was land that had to be farmed. The pigs may also have come in handy. They eat almost anything, including human remains. One associate of Picton's later testified that he'd spoken of feeding dead prostitutes to pigs. Willie used to take the pig carcasses to the West Coast Reduction Rendering Plant on Commercial Drive, north in Vancouver. It was right beside downtown Eastside, the area so many women disappeared from. Willie was well known there as a bad date, street slang for a partner who was violent to prostitutes. Well, then I've never been a bad date. That's another feather in my cap. Woo! So everyone knew Willie Picton and the Piggy Palace, and everyone knew weird things happened out there. Everyone knew that young women were disappearing from the low track of Vancouver's downtown east side too. It wasn't rocket science to work out that there might be a connection between the pig farmer and the missing prostitutes. It didn't take a genius, though, as it happened, Vancouver police had one. Crunching numbers. In a 7th floor room within the police station at 2120 Canby Street, nicknamed the Officer's Mess, high-ranking police officers discussed the missing women over coffee. Detective Inspector Kim Rosmo wasn't allowed into the room. He was an outsider. He was an outsider promoted from constable by then City Chief Ray Canuel. At the time, Rosmo had become Canada's first police officer to graduate with a doctorate. He had earned a PhD in criminology at Simon Fraser University in British Columbia, where he developed a geographic profiling, a computerized crime tool aimed at helping catch serious repeat offenders such as serial killers. Oh, he came up with an app. That's early terms for app because, now that your cell phones are more powerful than computers from 10 years ago. I mean, unless it was a monster rig, but I doubt it. Rosmo studied the data of when missing people showed up and concluded that after 3 weeks, 93% were found. In Vancouver, however, the number found was close to zero. Rosmo's search also showed that no other city in Canada had experienced any similar phenomenon. In September 1998, Rosmo told a meeting of senior Vancouver police officers the news they didn't want to hear. He believed a serial killer was on the loose, and he had already killed more than a dozen young women. Rosmo pleaded to them to warn the public of the situation in Vancouver. They argued that there was no concrete proof that such a killer was responsible for the women's disappearances. Many had transient lifestyles. They countered, and no stable jobs or accommodation. They'd turn up eventually. I mean, sometimes. Wood chipper and bleach, guys. Invest in wood chippers and bleach. I heard that somewhere. I don't know about it firsthand. Look at that pretty dog. And my ugly ass feet. Eventually they did, in tiny pieces, on Willie Picton's pig farm. He would later confess to murdering 49 women, one more than the Green River Killer, who was operating just across the border in the United States at around the same time. Despite the United States' reputation as home to more serial killers than any other country, it has yet to produce one with so high a body count as Canada's Robert Willie Picton, though tragically it would transpire that many of those 49 bodies would never be found. By summer 1999, the pressure on the police was building. Public protests had raised awareness of the issue of the missing women, and a task force had been set up to look into the matter in the light of Kim Rosmo's geographic profiling data. With a $100,000 reward on offer for information, tip-offs began to pour in. One call to the Crime Stoppers hotline mentioned the name of Lynn Ellingson, who had spent 4 months living in Willie Picton's trailer from February to June that year. Inquiries confirmed that several people had claimed the 29-year-old recovering drug addict, Ellington, had told them the same horrific story about what she saw there. The meat hook story. Well, this just keeps on getting better. What the ass. For those of you that are still here, if you could please refresh, I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I shall continue. The story was that on 1 March, Ellingson had been paid $150 by Picton to help him pick up a prostitute. Even junkies desperate for a fix were wary of getting in a vehicle with Willie Picton by this point, and having a female companion with them reassured them. It worked. Georgina Faith Papin hopped into his red pickup truck beside the smiling blonde woman who promised her a fun time. Georgina was 34, pretty, and like many of Picton's victims of Aboriginal or First Nation descent, Cree in her case, was proud of it. Making traditional dream catchers and moccasins and baking bannock, the iconic Canadian bread that sustained the early settlers of this part of North America and remains a favorite of indigenous cultures even today. The granddaughter of baseball star Jimmy Rattlesnake, she'd had a tough upbringing in the foster care system, run away at 12, and had the first of her 7 children at the age of 14 in Las Vegas. She gave them Cree names: Winter Star, Little Storm, Autumn Wind. Like all of those on the low track, Georgina had a long story to tell, but to Willie she was just another hooker, just another addict, and just another victim. Once she was at Picton's farm, he handcuffed her, anally raped her, and stabbed her to death. Ellingson was in a different room, so was unaware of the murder until she woke in the night and noticed the light was on in Willie Picton's barn. When she investigated, she saw Georgina's body hanging from a meat hook, and Willie Picton skinning her like a pig. He grabbed Ellingson and pulled her into the barn, warning her that if she said anything, she would be hanging beside the dead woman. Ellingson recalled seeing Georgina's painted red toenails dangling at her eye level and described the yellowish color of human fat where the skin had been removed. She told her horrified associates of how Georgina's bloody scalp, complete with thick, lush, raven-colored Cree hair, lay on a table nearby like a horsetail. On 26 August, Constable Ruth Yurkiv of Vancouver Police Detachment and Detective Ron Lepine of the Missing Women's Task Force questions Ellingson about the story. She denied every word of it. With no first-hand account of anything criminal having taken place on the farm, Detective Earl Moulton was advised by a Crown prosecutor they had no grounds to seek a search warrant. It was only years later that Georgina's hands, which had so skillfully kneaded the dough of a bannock bread, were found under a platform in Picton's slaughterhouse. As for Lynn Ellingson, she hooked up with an old boyfriend and got a job with a window company called See More Clearly. Brenda Ann Wolfe vanished from the low track on 5 March, just 4 days after Georgina Papin. She was a certified hairdresser, mother of 2, and a member of the... Okay, bear with me. Westahall First Nation in Saskatchewan. Her DNA was later found on keys near handcuffs and leg cuffs in the loft of Picton's workshop. Clean your shit, dude, you filthy fuck. Anyways, in 2000, the police raided and shut down Grandma's house, the only place in downtown East Side that had sex workers considered that sex workers considered a safe space. The investigators continued to deny the rumors that a serial killer was on the loose. Silence of an accomplice. How many more pages we got on this shit? This one goes on for a minute. We got 10 more pages. I'm going to read these 10 more pages, maybe. Or I could just stop here. You want me to stop here? I think I'm going to stop here. We gave it a good hour, right? I think I'm going to stop here. We'll get back to Mr. Piggy Palace, Willie Picton, some other day. Anything about that dog on the outside? Oh, yeah? Oh, big stretch. Well, good night, peeps. I'm out. I will see you tomorrow, hopefully, for... Hopefully I'll be feeling like doing some art. I might do some viewer-suggested drawings. Because I am a bit rusty. I will talk at you guys later. Have a good night. Deuces. See you tomorrow night around 8:30, 9 o'clock Central. Deuces.